Okay, so this is another quick tutorial on Premiere and virtual reality video editing. So I'm going to go ahead and just start a brand new project and we will take a look at a few things here. Um, in particular, what we want to look at is um, how a flat image versus how a panoramic image is going to start to work and behave. And then we're also going to do just a little bit of work with audio, setting some keyframes, fading in and out, and trimming a portion of that. Okay, so let's go ahead and import some additional items. So I'm right clicking in the bin and importing a handful of files here, an audio track, a panoramic file, and a standard two-dimensional image. So let's bring each of those in. I'm going to start with the panoramic image. That's going to help establish everything within my program window. And by the way, some difficulties I was having earlier with the monitor. I had a source monitor and program monitor. One of the things you can do is simply close that source down so that you only have the source coming from this direction. I was having a little bit of trouble with the monitor flipping back and forth for some reason. So what I did, I was able to just come in, click on this little stack and say close panel to leave only the program monitor open. And the program monitor is essentially the final output. This is what the final output that you're going to see. So again, moving from here and switching to the toggle VR display, that gives me what I'm going to be seeing in my HMD with the ability to look around. Let's go ahead and drag in our audio clip. And let's go ahead and put in this great little background plate from Totoro as well, because I do like Totoro, okay? So I've got these three elements. I've got a VR clip, and if I scroll to this, to the image of Totoro, I can actually see this as a two-dimensional non-pano image happening inside of the VR space. So if I turn VR back off, you will see that that is an image that is happening pretty much inside the field of view of the overall panoramic file. In fact, let's just kind of move this to a different track. And if I slide this back, you can see that that is now sort of floating inside of that VR space. So it's actually showing up kind of as this piece that wraps around. Cool, so that's sort of projected into the VR space. And we'll look at how to make that a nicer setup here in just a second. If I needed to change the size of this image, there's a couple of simple things that I can do. It's the primary way you're going to do that is with this scale feature right here. So again, to get to that, I'm just going to double click on the file here, or I can double click here as well to pull up the basic source information. Now, inside of my program window, I can scale this up and down interactively. If I come back to my effects controls here, I can see numerically what is happening. So if I set that back to 100, I can rescale that image. So if my image is coming in too small or too large, based off of my program window, I can establish that at the correct format. Now, however, if I begin to do something like take a standard 2D image and stretch that to be a fully encompassed VR space, you're going to notice it looks okay at first until I go all the way up and I start to see these pinch points. Or in this case of this image, it's even more impactful looking all the way down. You start to see these pinch points where that flat image has been wrapped around what is essentially that VR space or that VR bubble that you can imagine that I'm inside of. Okay, so a standard 2D image is not going to be something that you can easily manipulate in this way. Okay, so I'm going to take that scale back down. We can actually see that unwrap and unfold itself right back into VR. Now, if I want that to show up not as a piece that is actually curved, but as a piece that is still flat. It looks like the flat representation of the original image in the space. I can do that as well, and that is in the effects panel um, under video effects, and you're going to find it underneath the immersive video panel. And what you're looking for is plane to sphere. So I've got a planar image, and I want to adapt that to a spherical image. And you can see what that does is that begins to flatten that image out. So I'm going to go ahead and place that back at 100% scale. And now you can see that that is actually changing how that is represented as a two-dimensional image inside of my three-dimensional world. Let's turn this back out of VR, and you can actually see how it's kind of warping that image so that it works correctly inside of the spherical virtual reality space. So I can move this closer to the camera or further away from the camera by zooming in and out, but I am going to get some distortion when I do that. And like any effect, I'm definitely getting some pixel loss here and there, but I can pull those toward or away from, and I can also again select it and begin to move it around the space, and you're going to see that work. Let me set that back to 100. You're going to see that work really nicely as well inside of the space. So if I wanted this image to be sort of along that row right there, I can set this up and I will see the illusion of that image sitting on that sort of shelf space right there, which is a really cool trick and allows you to do some really nice and interesting things in terms of the overall video and its appearance inside of virtual reality space.